So, we didn't die last night.
That's a good thing.
Pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Last night.
Last night. We didn't die last night. Well, we didn't die last night either.
No, we didn't.
Anyway.
That's true. Both statements are true.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. So today, we drove from... This is road trip day 5.
Yep.
We drove from Mesquite, Nevada, all the way to Visalia, California, for a total of 488 miles.
But...
What did we do?
In the middle,
Uh-huh.
we hit the Hoover Dam.
Yes, we did.
It was amazing.
It's
pretty epic.
It's very epic.
Now, the way we approached it was through the recreational area.
Yes.
Which brought... So we didn't actually ever drive across the dam.
No.
Everything we did at the dam was on foot, which I think actually added to the scale of it. Plus, when you're in the car, I don't think you really get to see either side because you're on the road and you can't really see anything. So I think it was the right way to do it. Up
until that point, though, the highway... If you were taking that highway, not the interstate, but the highway, you had to drive across the Hoover Dam. And in 2008 or 9, they started construction on the second highest bridge in America, which is the one that we got pictures of the dam from.
Epic. That bridge is insane. Second tallest?
Second tallest bridge in America.
What's the first?
I don't know.
Oh, you can't pull that kind of... That stat out without knowing what the first is. I know,
but in my research, I read about that. But anyway, they built that highway.
So one of our questions for the day. So
anyway, and that was we found that out this time. But yeah, it was really impressive.
It's really cool. Unfortunately, right as we drove into the parking lot, as the woman is handing us our ticket to go park, her radio goes off saying that they had just sold the last ticket for the official dam tour. So that was the one that takes an hour and a half or whatever the length was. It's a little bit longer than the rest of the tours, and you get a couple of cool viewpoints, vantage points that you don't get otherwise. So we did the power plant tour.
We did the power plant tour, which is also really cool.
Amazing, and actually is really the bulk of what the dam is. It sounds like really what you get with the other tour is a little bit more time to walk to these viewpoints and kind of see from underneath the dam, where you can kind of get to see up and stuff like that. But ultimately, we got to see those views, from other vantage points, and they take full advantage of those jokes.
Yes, it was a dam tour.
It was a dam tour, and they squeezed the word "damn" in every at least 3 times a sentence. It was pretty amazing.
And even they started off the tour by saying, like, "Give us all your damn jokes."
Yep.
And it was kind of silent in the audience because I don't think we were actually anticipating that coming.
No.
And then she just rattled off 4 or 5, like, in a row, like horrible dad pun jokes.
Clearly she does. That's what she does for a living.
Yes.
And was ready for it, that is for sure.
Like she said, she was a damn professional, so.
And she was.
She was
a damn tour guide.
She was.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. With the power plant tour, you also got the entrance into the old exhibit, which was built in, like, the 50s.
That was really cool.
It was built in the 40s.
I feel like more than anything else, maybe more than anything else I've ever done, that felt like it was untouched from that time period.
Yes.
Even the seats we sat in, having like this, and I, having a background in playing video games, I feel like I've seen this like, not dystopian thing, but I don't know, a lot of games are placed around fallout shelters,
right.
And that time period being encapsulated, I felt like I was in the 40s or 50s watching this presentation. Even the voice as it comes out over these speakers is like, yeah, it's not that bad. Okay, it was not that bad, but it just felt dated, but in a really cool way.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
Well, and what they have in that old museum house, which actually during World War II was kind of the general's bunker, though, because the command post of protecting the Hoover Dam.
Yeah, the military was deployed during World War II to protect the dam, and that
because it was so important for the power in pretty much all of the western states, definitely the southwestern states, but it was cool.
It was very, very cool. So we got access to both of those. So ultimately, no complaints that we didn't get to do the official dam tour.
Yeah.
If you get there early enough and you get to do that, great. Otherwise, don't feel bad about just doing the power plant tour. It's really
and you
cool.
Can't reserve. So it wasn't that we decided to not make reservations. It was because it's a first come, first served basis.
Yep.
And even if you compliment the lady selling you tickets, even if you compliment her nails,
she's not going to give you a ticket.
She's not. They were very patriotic nails too.
She was damn stubborn.
She was damn stubborn.
Yeah.
For a damn good reason.
For a damn good reason.
Yes.
Indeed. So
anyway.
It was really cool. And I mean, I know I've said this about pretty much everything we did on this road trip, but that's a bucket lister. Like, to be able to say you've seen the Hoover Dam. I think you had seen it before, right? As a kid, maybe? Or...
No, I drove across it with when I was on tour with Missoula Children's Theater.
Oh, okay.
I had visited, but we didn't do the damn tour.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, and it's amazing. And having been to Las Vegas a couple times, it's definitely worth the drive. It's only 35, 40 minutes outside of Las Vegas. Hop on a van, hop on whatever, go take the tour.
Yeah, really cool. Definitely
it's one of the modern marvels of the engineering world. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's insane. Which brought us to one of our first questions.
Yeah.
Which was, well, do you want to go with fatalities?
Yeah, let's do casualties.
So
first.
Casualties or fatalities.
Fatalities.
Casualty could be I lost a finger.
That's true. That's true.
Or any sort of injury. We were thinking more specifically how many people died creating this amazing, working on this amazing feat of engineering. So everywhere I looked, it says over 100.
Okay.
So the reason they say over 100 is that only 96 deaths were officially classified as work-related deaths.
Interesting.
So that allowed their families to get pensions and things like that from the companies that they were working for.
Okay.
So 96 is the official number of people that they officially classified. But there were, I think they said something like 30 other workers that officially were listed as things like pneumonia.
Right.
And basically making it so the companies didn't have to pay out any sort of settlements or any sort of pensions. So it was a little bit, it's pretty well supported that they basically did that as a shortcut to not have to shell out money, which is terrible.
Well, and they even mentioned that in one of the exhibits, saying that they would wait because you're working with this tons of cement.
Yeah.
Literally tons and tons of cement. And that the powder could get into certain individuals' lungs.
It was carbon monoxide poisoning for a lot of them.
Wow.
They were saying that it was to cover up carbon monoxide. They would say it was pneumonia or other things when really it was probably work conditions that were causing these deaths, or at least negligence in some way. And so they classified it differently, so they didn't.
So over 100.
Yeah, over 100 people. Now, not a single person is actually buried in the dam.
That was what I was going to ask. How many people are actually buried in the dam?
Everyone always says how many people are in there, and that there are people. There is no official report that there's anyone in. In fact, they claim that there are no bodies in the Hoover Dam. I
believe that.
There was a story about a dam, and I didn't really research this, so I won't claim to know everything. But there is a dam. There was a dam catastrophe in construction. So there is a dam somewhere in the United States where there's like 30 people that are buried in the rubble. So anyway.
Well, and really for the concrete to cure in the way that it needs to and to be stable, they would have to get out.
Yeah, well, and ultimately nothing was so quickly settled that you couldn't get a body out or anything. So
that's
96 people is the official reporting. But over 100 is the unofficial.
96 officially work-related.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely. That makes
96.
sense. So, then that got us starting to think about, like, well, okay, how long is the Hoover Dam going to be around?
You get a sense of age from the dam, even though it's very...
it doesn't look like it's cracking.
It looks stable. It looks very massive. It doesn't look weak by any means. But you do, especially when you take the tour... all these dates are being thrown at you, and you're like, wow, this is old. This is old.
This is like 80 years old.
This is old. Yeah. And so for something this big, so it got us thinking, like, how long did they expect this to last?
Well, and you have to think about it. It is concrete, which does cure, and it ends up, and a lot of people don't know this, but the base of the Hoover Dam is as wide as it is tall. So it's basically, from what we can see, it comes to this tip. But it's like a gigantic, almost pyramid shape, where the base is as wide and long as it is tall. So it's just this massive wedge of concrete and cement that are like wedged in there.
Yeah.
And so I did I did research through Zidbits, and they cited several other notable sources. And so... without regular maintenance, because the Hoover Dam needs regular maintenance, without regular maintenance of the turbines, the pipes that allow intake into the water, cooling systems, the Hoover Dam would stop producing electricity within a few months to potentially to potentially a couple of years. So you have this range depending on what is growing quickly around the turbine shafts, how long the cooling systems last on their own without regular maintenance because of the outside temperatures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So it would produce electricity if all humans were to vanish in the blink of an eye. It would continue to produce electricity for a couple more months, up to a couple of years.
That's my cat Tack in the background. Tack, come here, or knock it off. Either one.
Either way. So the dam itself, because of what it's made of, and because of the way it's built, and it is the solid wedge of cement and concrete, if humans were to instantly disappear, it could last more than 10,000 years.
Wow.
More than 10,000 years. It would, according to the site that I was looking at, it could potentially be one of the last, if not the last, trace of human development on the face of the earth if somebody were to come 10,000 years from now. Just because it's so solid in the way that cement actually, it's a chemical reaction. It sets, it cures. So do you remember that thing next to the big angels, the brass statues of the angels?
Yeah.
There's this really cool, they kind of have this like nautical star map thing. That was an Art Deco 30s project. And it projects kind of recorded history as we know it for the past 5,000 years.
Keep telling the viewers I'm going to move the cat.
The recorded history for the 5,000 years. You see the building of the pyramids at Giza, and then you see like the birth of Christ, like 3,000 years later, and then it completes the circle, and that's just a small fraction, maybe like 25-degree angle. This map star projects 14,000 years into the future to what the new pole star would be, like what we consider the North Star. It would be, they said potentially that map and the dam itself could outlast, like the dam will still be there when we actually get to that new pole star.
Oh wow. I wonder if the people who made it knew that.
I don't know.
Or if that has anything to do with it. Either way, it's impressive. It's kind of a really humbling map. Mm-hmm. You know, and the way it's all planned out.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine just designing that art installation, because it is an art installation.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, it's so mathematically bound.
Yeah.
Because every degree on that circle is a certain amount of time. And it's incredible. It's really cool. Take the time. A lot of people just see it as statues, rub the feet and walk away, and that's it. But it really is kind of humbling to look at this representation of time. It's really cool. So take the time to look.
I mean, if anything, and now we're kind of getting towards reflections of the whole road trip, but if anything, looking back on the whole road trip, the kind of blip in time that we are is one of the resonating themes that just
absolutely
kept coming back.
Yeah. Just looking at the stone and the earth or any of these geological formations, just how long it takes for those things to form and things. I mean, you're totally right. Yeah. One of the reoccurring themes is, wow, we are just here for a split second in time.
It's crazy.
It is really crazy.
Well, and the fact that, anyway, we're just getting off topic now. But that was
a
that
whole
question.
Other thing. Just deep thoughts on life, you know. Yes.
Anyway, so that leads us to the next question, which is also mine. Sorry, you get to hear me talk more. So there's this white ring around Lake Mead, which is the reservoir created by the Hoover Dam.
Yep. Also massive.
Yeah,
is it? Do we know? Is it the largest man-made lake? Don't worry about it.
I don't think it's the largest man-made lake. I think it's the largest man-made lake in the States.
Well,
we'll figure it out.
Makes it the biggest
ever. Obviously,
in the Bigly,
America.
It's a Bigly lake.
It's a Bigly lake. Perfect.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you look at it, there's this white ring around and as we discussed, that is where the lake is at capacity. Now it's actually at one of the all-time lows. It was at its fullest a couple years after they actually stopped the water flow in like the late 30s.
Okay.
And then in the late 80s, it got up to that full, and they had to use the bypass.
Which kicks on automatically, right?
It does.
But then they also let out water past that to try and bring waters down to a realistic level.
But, so what we saw, that was actually, it's rare in that part of Nevada that all of that rock is actually igneous rock as opposed to limestone. That little canyon leading up to the Hoover Dam, a lot of that, the majority of that is igneous rock instead of settlement, like we had seen at Zion, Antelope Canyon. Yeah, so that was really, really cool. And those granite deposits is actually where the water had sat there for decades and kind of leached away minerals.
Oh,
So
wow.
it wasn't necessarily, and it was that white layer was where the rock was a higher percentage of granite as opposed to other forms of igneous rock.
Which was more affected.
Okay. And so the color had actually been leached away more than a mineral deposited there.
Okay.
And there was some of that too, because certain igneous rocks are more porous. Some of it was just the sediment in the settling. But from what the reading I could do, and I couldn't find like one set article that said this is the element or this isn't the element.
Gotcha.
But it looks like it's just like this granite core that had just kind of been leached over time. And that was from Bird and Hike, which is a local one, and they cite all of these
Far
other
more
channels.
official with citing your sources and stuff. I'm just like, I don't know. I read on.
Well, but they'll be
in
below.
the description. But
But those are mine. Cool. Yeah. So that official nickname for the white ring is called the bathtub ring.
Oh, nice.
Because sometimes if you're in the bathtub for too long,
you get that little ring.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all my questions.
Is that from the minerals being leached out of? Yeah, that's what that is.
And so hopefully, we're like I said, 2 years ago, I think we were at the lowest of all times. It's up higher than that, and it still was very full. It still was 1,000 feet from the surface of the water to the bottom of the lake.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
It's crazy.
That's really crazy. So, what was our other one? Oh, what makes tall clouds tall?
What makes tall clouds tall?
What makes tall clouds tall? So I kind of answered that question, which, I mean, so the tallest clouds are cumulonimbus.
Okay.
Cumulonimbus, sorry. Which is a combination of two types of clouds, the cumulo clouds and the nimbus clouds.
Right.
So it is cumulo clouds are the tallest of the clouds, and nimbus clouds are typically what comes with rainfall.
Okay.
So cumulonimbus clouds are the incredibly tall ones that also are most typically associated with thunderstorms, rainstorms, things like that. But to answer the actual question, which is what makes them so tall, it's a process of the warm, moist air in the center of the cloud. As it starts to precipitate, it creates this vortex with the cooler air on the outside of the cloud,
right? And
it's pushing it up, and that's what actually makes the cloud so tall. Is it's fighting the cold air on the outside and the warm air, moist air on the inside.
Right.
Creates really, really strong updrafts. So it's
and because water likes to stick to each other, like water has that attraction,
right?
Hydroscopy.
Sure.
Oh, because it has that attraction for each other. I don't know. Because
it wasn't in the source that I read.
That makes sense, though, because you would have this air that's lighter things rise to the top.
Well, and so the interesting thing is that in that process, as it's growing, it's not releasing any of that water.
Okay.
The water is in small enough particles that it's evenly distributed amongst that warm, moist air in the center.
Yeah.
So it grows, and grows, and then it gets to the top, and cumulonimbus clouds tend to have a very flat top. And the reason being is they can grow to be as tall as 39,000 feet. Like, that's the altitude at which they tend to get chopped off. But the reason they get chopped off, they'd keep going if it weren't for the fact that they're incredibly high wind speeds at 39,000 feet or so.
That makes sense.
So they get kind of chopped off at the top, creating this kind of flat top look. So if you're ever in a plane and you're seeing this beautifully flat topped, it's usually at the top of cumulonimbus clouds.
But for us, in our perspective, they look so fluffy, and you just never know.
Super fluffy all the way up, yeah, and you just can't see that perfectly topped. But then what happens is it gets high enough up that it reaches those altitudes where the temperature is so low that the water starts to form large raindrops or hail, snow, and things like that, and so it just starts to fall down. Most of the time, it falls fast enough, and it doesn't have long enough to truly. It's not a snow cloud.
Right.
It's not what's typically formed for snow. So that's usually what's going to give you rain and sometimes extreme hail.
Right.
So.
That makes sense.
But yeah, it's the process of the warm, moist air in the center, and this colder outer shell creates this massive updraft in the center of the cloud. And that's what makes tall clouds tall.
And then our last question, I don't even know how. We had a long drive, 488 miles.
I don't remember how this came up.
It was really long. Although I feel like we got to Visalia pretty early. No, it was pretty late. Anyway.
We had enough time to come up with a really random question.
Yeah.
Which was, I think the question was formed like New York City parking tower thingy?
Like vertical parking thingy?
What? So we must have seen something with parking where we're like, they need a tower, or maybe we
Yeah.
saw one or something.
They had like limited spaces.
So
You know what we were talking about? We were talking about the houses in California that have the parking garages below the driveway. That's what it was.
oh, is that what we were talking about?
And then because we saw really flat. Anyway,
so
it doesn't matter.
I've always been fascinated and never thought to use any of my free time to actually look up how those parking structures that are multiple cars stacked on top of each other, how those actually work. And really the biggest question for me was, what happens with the owner when the owner of the car on the top comes and he wants his car, but you've got 3 cars stacked underneath it?
Yeah, what do you do?
So the way I addressed the question was in its most classic form, which is those structures we see in New York that are old.
Right.
We've been seeing them for decades. I mean, it's the most typical form. They have
Right.
far more advanced versions out now that allow anyone to come and go at any time. You punch in your car's number and it just delivers it's like a giant vending machine for cars.
Or like the Willy Wonka kind of elevator that can go
a
anywhere.
Wonka-vator that can go
Yeah.
in any direction. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. So, but I was addressing mostly the classic version, which is just car stacked on top of car, stacked on top of car. And it really is just as simple as the fact that there's a mechanical device that jacks car number 1 up.
Yeah.
And then car number 2 comes and parks, and they go up, and then car number 3 parks, and they go up. And when car number 1 comes and wants his car, you have to pull out
do
car
it all in
number 1,
reverse.
and then pull out car number 2, bring car number 3 down, and pull him out and give it to his owner. So it's really kind of a very simplistic mechanism. Nothing fancy, no magic.
And it's exactly what we thought.
Exactly what we thought. I just had never confirmed it. So
yeah,
that's how New York parky thingies work. Or at least the older ones. They have really cool advanced ones now, anyway.
Okay, so out of all the questions, we had the 5 today. Which one did you think
Oh,
was
wow,
the
we
most
haven't done
interesting?
favorites in a while.
Oh, we did for the last one.
Doesn't matter. We told ourselves we would do this, and we just keep forgetting.
Yeah, we do.
So the questions we had. How many deaths?
How many deaths? How long will it last?
The bathtub ring.
Mm-hmm.
Clouds. And the New York parking devices. Yeah. I personally am fascinated by how long the Hoover Dam will.
Me too!
That's crazy that it could possibly be one of the last visible or lasting things of the human race.
Human civilization.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to me.
And it's really creepy, and it's another good question that we can research, is the Art Deco stellar map on the outside. If the artist knew when he was designing that it potentially the dam could actually be there when the new North Star is the new North Star.
Yeah.
So I agree. That is actually what I think is most interesting.
That gets my vote.
Yeah, mine too.
So there you go.
We're on board.
That was today.
That was today. Day 5, which was
day 5.
July 26th. Cool.
Wow, good memory. So where are we off to tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we're going to Sequoia National Park.
Sequoia National Park.
I'm excited.
Big trees, apparently.
I wonder what it's going to be like.
We'll find out, because I haven't been there yet.
We haven't been there yet.
It'll be really cool.
It'll be really cool.
Yeah, well, thanks for watching.